Goodness. All right, I think we're ready. I will now call to order a regular scheduled town council meeting for Tuesday, August 10th, 2021. And I'd like to welcome those who joined us on our live stream. We'll move right now to our invocation, and we mix it up here, so we do a prayer or reflection or a wisdom moment. So I would like to do a wisdom moment right now and talk about being thankful. There's many things that we experience daily. We're a growing town. Sometimes it feels like we're in chaos, but I will tell you that we can always find thankfulness in the moment in some way. So what I would like to do is put someone on the spot. So I know that we could say a page, 8.5 by 11 page, and we can write down so many things that we're thankful for, but can we really do it? So I wrote down a page of things. It's going to take me about 30 minutes to go through. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But I would like to just go around and say, what are you thankful for? So we'll start with Councilwoman Stallings.
To make it brief, I would say I am extremely thankful for the passion that exists in this town. We may not always agree, but there are some very passionate folks here that really, I think, want good things to happen in Apex, and I appreciate that.
All right. Councilman Mahaffey.
I'd say my family, health of my family, going back to school, enjoying themselves.
Yes, sir.
Going well.
And for me, I would say I thank God for the opportunity to sit here in this seat as a mayor and being in this great town, and town staff for all you do. Thankful for that. So does anybody else want to go, or we'll go right into the Pledge of Allegiance?
I
One
would
more.
say I am very thankful for my colleagues here. I think we get along well, and we are getting things done in Apex, and I think our community really appreciates that.
Thank you so much for sharing. All right. Thank y'all for everything. So with that, if you're able, please join us standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It looks like we got a house full of common people and staff members. So if you're here to speak during public forum or public hearing, please make your way to my right and sign up on the appropriate sheet so we can recognize you at that time. So with that, we'll move right into the consent agenda, and all consent agenda items are considered routine to be enacted by one motion with the adoption of the consent agenda and without discussion. If a council member requests discussion of an item, the item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. We do have a couple of things. We have one add-on item, and it is motion to approve minutes of June 22nd, 2021, regular council meeting. So consent 12, and then we also have for consent 5, you should have a copy, colleagues, motion to set public hearing for the August 24th, 2021 town council meeting regarding various amendments to the Unified Development Ordinance. So with those add-ons and revisions, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve with those amendments.
All right.
I'll second that.
Motion second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, passed unanimously. We now move to setting of the regular meeting agenda, and no changes to this meeting agenda. With that, I will accept the motion.
Motion to approve.
All right, thank you. All right, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Passed unanimously. We move now to a public forum, and do we have any sign-ups?
No, sir.
All right, so we'll close public forum and move on, and we move right into our public hearing. We're moving fast. All right, public hearing 1, public hearing and possible motion to adopt the ordinance on the question of annexation, and it would be annexation 710. Ms. Diane Kent.
All right, so annexation 710 is in our northern portion of our area. It is formerly known as the Cobra Track, and it's the Reams Grove Master Subdivision Plan that has been approved, that is ready to be approved by TRC for the construction plans. The property is located at Jenks Road and Green Level Church Road near 540, and they do need to annex in order to get construction plans and have access to town water and sewer. Staff does recommend approval.
Any questions for Ms. Kent? All right, hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'm sorry, let me open, I'm sorry. We'll open public hearing for this item at this time. And no signups for any public hearings. Okay, good. So we'll close public hearing for comment, and now it's back to council for possible motion.
Motion to approve.
All right, thank you.
I'll second it.
All right, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Passed unanimously. Moving now to public hearing 2. And again, Ms. Ken, public hearing and possible motion to adopt an ordinance on the question of annexation number 714.
Okay, so this is also in our northern portion of our jurisdiction. It is 2 properties located at 1533 and 1537 Old Ivy Road. You can see it here. It's near the preserve at White Oak Creek. These properties did receive emergency water, and so they do need to annex per our policy to have the town utilities. And so we do recommend approval of these properties being annexed.
Thank you. Questions?
Ms. Ken, what's going on with the in-between one, and like, is that ever been part of the discussion?
It's part of this property here,
Mm-hmm,
and it's not owned by those property owners.
okay. And the roads on that, I guess it's just how it is in that area.
It's just how those were Wake County subdivisions back in the day. I don't know why they're shaped like that, but the properties that are requesting annexation are at 1533 and 1537 Old Ivy Road.
Okay.
Dan, as long as we're on the topic, that brings up a subject that's kind of, I'm curious about, and I'd be interested in your take. Our colleagues in Holly Springs really concerned about donut holes in their jurisdiction and how that impacts, and they're trying to get special legislation in order for them to annex donut holes, perhaps involuntarily. I've never heard that brought up or discussed in Apex, and I'm curious as to what your perspective is on the presence of those donut holes inside of town, and why don't we care as much as our neighbors do?
Well, so back in the day, the town could annex areas that met certain standards under state law and involuntarily annex the donut holes. The General Assembly took away that ability fairly recently, but we never did involuntary annexation here in Apex in the 22 years I've been here, so I'm not sure that it's ever been a concern with that change to state law, because we weren't doing it anyway. The main reason why donut holes are a concern is because of service areas for water, sewer, police, etc. And so, unless I wouldn't consider that a donut hole. I mean, the one parcel is immediately adjacent to our corporate limits.
I agree in this case, but just in general.
In general.
The distinction between our position and Holly Springs is quite large. I'm just wondering.
So, I mean, the areas that we have that are donut holes would be things like, I'm trying to think what the name of this
Brookfield.
is.
Brookfield, right?
This isn't Brookfield, this is Castlewood.
Oh, okay.
Castlewood area, and then, of course, Chapel Ridge. So they tend to be old Wake County neighborhoods that have never been annexed. And so, I mean, it's just one of those things that we've never had much concern about. It may be something that the service providers for water, sewer, police would be interested in. Of course, our fire district goes through the donut hole, so that's not a concern.
All right. Doesn't bug you, huh?
Excuse me?
Just doesn't bug you?
It's
All right.
never been a concern for Apex, mainly because we did not do involuntary annexations to begin with. For all the municipalities that were doing involuntary annexations, the change in state law was very bothersome to them.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. All right, hearing none, we'll open up the public hearing for comments. No speakers tonight. We'll close it, and it's back to council for possible motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion on it? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, passed unanimously. All right, we're moving now to public hearing 3. And this is public hearing and possible motion regarding amendments to the 2045 land use map in the vicinity of New Hill Holloman Road and Old US 1 Highway. Mr. Shannon Cox.
I do. Got a little tighter over here today. So just to orient you to the exhibit, this horizontal line is Old US 1 Highway, paralleled by the railroad tracks. And then this is New Hill Olive Chapel Road, which becomes New Hill Holloman Road. And I'm sure you remember that last year we had numerous discussions about the thoroughfare and Collector Street plan map in this area. You decided to take off the grade separation, the future grade separation shown in this location, and also to not show future widening to 4 lanes on New Hill Olive Chapel Road north of Old US 1. And during those deliberations, you asked that staff take another look at the land use map, given the changes to the thoroughfare and Collector Street plan map, and make recommendations to you regarding possible changes. So that's what we are doing today. So the bold black lines are the areas of proposed change, and they generally follow parcel lines. So on the west side of New Hill Olive Chapel, we are recommending changing this area from office employment and commercial services to low-density residential. So it would be more similar to the area already shown on the west and north. For this area that has frontage on New Hill Olive Chapel, we're recommending changing from office employment and commercial services to low-density residential and office employment. And then similarly on the east side of the road, this large parcel here, or several parcels, would change from office employment and commercial services to medium-density residential and commercial services. So typically, low-density residential and medium-density residential would have less traffic coming to and from those uses than commercial services. So this generally changes the intensity of these land uses. This is the planning staff recommendation based on your request. It was reviewed by planning board last night. They unanimously recommended approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Ms. Cox, can you explain on the blue one? It looks like office employment was mainly taken away, except for that one where the commercial services was the one taken away and changed to the residential. So can you explain that one versus the other changes?
So we could slice this a number of ways. It's more of an art than a science, I would say, at this stage. But we, as staff, just discussed that this is adjacent to the parcels here. It does have frontage, and just, you know, the general shape may work well for future development. So those were some of our discussions.
And I guess the lack of frontage along New Hill Olive Chapel maybe would be less conducive to commercial than office.
Yes, and then the other aspect was we did try to follow parcel lines to the extent possible, so not split, you know, the land use classifications for a given parcel.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll open up public hearing for this item. No signups tonight, so we'll close it for comments, and now it's back to council for discussion leading to a possible motion.
I think, you know, staff has done exactly what we asked, based on what we approved with the thoroughfare. So I'm going to make a motion to approve.
I second it.
All right, motion second. More discussion? Hearing none. We'll move to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, passed unanimously. Thank you. All right, move now to public hearing concerning proposed amendments to Chapter 5, 12, and 20 of the Town Code of Ordinances. Mr. Michael Deaton, Water Resources Director. The man of the hour.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Tonight before you, as the mayor indicated, we have a public hearing to amend chapters 5, 12, and 20 of the Town Code of Ordinances. These amendments are being proposed to generally do some housekeeping with our ordinances. A few years back, we had some organizational changes that originally were housed under the Public Works Department. And so through that organizational structure change, different responsibilities moved out. So these are all amendments to essentially remove all references to the Public Works Director, Public Works and Utilities Director, Director of Public Works, Director of Public Works and Utilities, and replace with the appropriate updated titles. Public hearings required pursuant to NCGS 160D-601. The amendments are attached to the agenda item, and I will be happy to answer any questions, should you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Deaton. Any questions?
Yeah, I'm curious about 160D601. Typically, we don't have to hold a public hearing, just procedurally, we usually don't hold public hearings for town code changes, but I guess we do in this case. Is that a recent change for this year, or has this always been on the books for some reason? What's the reason for a public hearing versus this being on new business?
I would have to defer to legal if you don't mind.
And I didn't work on this with Mike, and so I'm not familiar with why this is required under 160D, but I would assume it's because of the development components of the ordinances that's also required for development regulations, is what 160D generally pertains to.
Thank you.
Good,
All right.
Councilman? All right,
Yeah.
thank you. Any other questions? None? All right, we have a motion.
Public hearing?
I'm sorry, we'll open a public hearing for this item. No sign-up, so we'll close it. Now it's back to council. Is there a motion? to
Make a
approve?
motion to approve.
There you go.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thanks, Councilman, for your help. All right, move now, out of public hearings, we move now to old business one. And this is possible motion to approve an ordinance amendment changing opening and closing times for various parks, greenways, and shelters. Director Craig Sesser.
Got 25 minutes.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
A lot of
Oh, yeah, okay.
a lot of questions. A lot of questions.
It's starting
Thank you,
when
Mayor.
stop
Thank you,
though.
Council.
That's- It's retroactive.
So, I appreciate that. Honestly, I didn't think I would be up here this quick, so. So back in May, we were requested to take a look at our park hours of operation. So we did a needs assessment for our park hours. And per your request, basically the last time that we assessed the hours was back in 2013-14 with the master plan update. During that time, we've had 59% of our population increase. And let me see if I can pull this up. That's it. No, this is it. Yeah, this is it. If I can pull it up. Bang. So, our population has increased by 59% since 2014. And with an increase like that, you start to get different needs within the community. So the hours assessment was really a necessity at this point. We are going into another master plan coming up, so we may find different things as we go through that process. But we have been requested for additional hours, expanded hours within the parks, whether it be because of athletic court lighting or just general park usage. So with the assessment, what we did a public input survey. We also did neighborhood park meetings with our 5 neighborhood parks, and we also touched base with our surrounding municipalities. So this crazy looking graph that you're looking at, the solid lines on the graph, they are for our community parks, which is our larger parks. The dotted lines are our neighborhood parks. Orange, summer, winter, blue, so should be pretty easy to understand why. Preferences for opening. If you take a look at the first graph, it shows sunrise is by far the most requested time for opening our parks. The next closest would be the non-preference. For preferences for closing, it's kind of all over the board. You can see the graph shooting up and down throughout. What you'll see in the hours that we're proposing, when it comes to closing times, we really looked at our operational needs because of how much the graph shoots up and down. There are a lot of different needs for the closing times. So you'll take notice of that once I actually show you the proposed hours. Neighborhood park meetings. We sent out 800 plus mailings to the neighborhood parks that we visited. We had 5 neighborhood parks, really good turnouts at Seagroves, at West Street, and at Claremont. We had no shows at Kelly Glen and no shows at Sue Helton. They're really small parks. So I don't know that I really expected a lot of participation from those different subdivisions and areas, but some of the feedback that we received when you have these neighborhood park meetings like this, you get different feedback than what you're there for specifically, which is outstanding, right? So some of the feedback was additional amenities, whether it was playgrounds, whether it was restrooms, which have been requested over at West Street. They did have a few security concerns in reference to just making sure parks hours were being monitored and people weren't staying in the parks after hours. And then in Claremont, they referenced group happenings on the basketball court. And when I say that, people were actually running tournaments on the basketball court, setting up tables and things of that nature, something that we weren't scheduling. So it was some random event. So their concerns evolved around more like the parking situation that creates when they're doing tournaments within the park like that. So that's just some of the feedback that we received there. Honestly, they didn't talk a lot about the park hours. It was a lot about these other things, and a lot of this can be addressed with our master plan update. So surrounding municipalities, a lot of our neighbors use sunrise to sunset in their neighborhood parks, and you'll see where we headed with our proposed hours as well. But lighted athletic facilities are always longer hours in different areas, and then when you have approved extended use activities in the parks, they're always longer hours as well. So, our proposed park hours. With our current scheduling and how we handle our opening of our facilities, we have one crew of 2 people. So what we did was we took a look at the highest percentage of sunrise times throughout the year, and we determined that 6:30 was the highest percentage at 70% of sunrise times. When you do a sunrise time, when you have as many gates as we do to open, it fluctuates throughout the year. So we wanted to make sure we were consistent with the times that we were offering. And so that's why we went with 6:30, which was the highest percentage of all times for the parks throughout the year. The 10 p.m. time frame, for us, from an operational perspective in the larger parks, our programs last till after 9 a lot of times. So we wanted to make sure that we gave people the opportunity to get out of the parks in time. And if they wanted to do some open play after their event, whether it would be practice, whether it be games, they had an opportunity to do that as well. You'll notice at Seagroves Farm in Claremont, we push those to 9 o'clock. We don't run programs at those facilities, but Seagroves has a restroom facility and Claremont actually has an athletic court. So we wanted to make sure that we extended those times and were consistent with that. Our other town parks, we chose to go sunrise to sunset for the smaller parks because we don't run programs and they don't have other amenities. So For us, running Sunrise to Sunset was important because they are neighborhood parks and they don't have the additional amenities like the other facilities. You'll notice the greenways are still sunrise to 30 minutes after sunset because we don't have lit greenways either. So that's a safety thing. Now, the biggest thing you'll notice here is we want to go with this throughout the year. We don't want to separate it into 2 seasons. And the reason we chose to do that, this past winter, we were requested to run the parks per council, to run the parks like our summer hours. So what we did was we had our park attendants at night, essentially as they're going through, doing trash, doing restroom things, go through and count people on the fields. And our fields and our courts, tennis courts, they were packed throughout the winter too. It was amazing to see the numbers. So for us, operating under the same time frame made a lot of sense because we're actually expanding hours, which we were requested to do, and we feel like we've hit all the marks. So these are our proposed park hours. The Recreation Advisory Commission unanimously approved them, and if you have any questions, please let me know.
Mine is more of a comment. Thank you for all the work with this, and I think we were really trying to listen to residents, and you responded to that with COVID. You know, so many of our residents wanted to be outdoors because that was one of the things that wasn't restricted, you know, and so because of COVID, I think our residents really asked for this, and thank you for responding. did have a question in terms of staff impact. This, assuming obviously you have considered all that, and these expanded hours are still manageable with staff?
Yes, the current staff, we can flex our schedules to handle that.
And then just a couple other quick questions. When is the master plan update scheduled to start? I think you said it, but I may forget.
Well, tonight, you approved it on the consent agenda.
Okay, so it's-
So with that being said, we're hopefully going to start that in the beginning of September.
Okay. And with the athletic court lighting, I know that came up before council some time ago too, or have we done all of that we can do?
We have not completed all that. I'm in conversations with Electric right now about doing the community park basketball courts as well as the sand volleyball courts.
Okay. Any idea when that might be done? Or?
I actually had another conversation with them today, so we're going out next week to take a look at the locations. There are some concerns about location of poles. So we may reduce the amount of poles that we have, and that's a conversation we got to have. But next week we'll be out on site taking a look at it.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. I wanted to ask a question, go back to the input that you received that was outside of the park hours.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and you did mention that some of that would be addressed in the master plan, but do folks know or believe that you will be getting back to them related to some of their asks
Absolutely.
of you? Okay, thank you.
I just want to echo Councilmember Stallings' comments. I think you hit on all the points I was going to bring up. But I appreciate the work that you guys have done in putting this together. And I think we're doing something good tonight by expanding, the hours and the use of these amenities in the town. And I appreciate how, sometimes a 5-minute discussion we have at the table here leads to months and months of staff work. And this is one example. And at the end of this, I think we're getting a good product though. So just thank you again for all the work on this.
Absolutely.
I'm impressed by how much work you did in a short period of time, so great.
It was lightning fast.
Thank you. Very well done.
Yep.
Definitely well done.
Any other
I
questions?
just thank you for the basketball lights,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
all the ballers. All right, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I think I heard Killingsworth first, so,
I'll
Go
second.
ahead.
all right, second. All right, any discussion?
Just thank you.
All right, thanks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Passed unanimously. We move now to updates by Manager Katie Crockett.
Good evening, council members. Some of this is going to be redundant, of which the first one is welcome Craig to being a director. So, so you all know better than I that Craig has done a fantastic job serving in interim capacity. So this is well deserved, and I'm looking forward to working with you. Secondly, Chief Armstrong started last Monday. And so we're really excited to have him on board and moving things forward. So looking forward to you all having an opportunity to meet him. One thing I did want to update you on is that there may be an impact to yard waste services because of COVID. We have some folks that have been out due to COVID. And if you have any additional questions, Assistant Town Manager Marty Stone is here if you need additional information on that. And then you all saw all the pictures from my fire visit on Friday with Councilwoman Dozier, which was lots of fun and hard work, and I slept most of the weekend. So, I think I'm fully recovered from that, but it was a great experience to hang out with Fire Station 34, and I just want to publicly thank them for being so gracious and just hosting me, and they had vegetarian meals for me, so that was really good. I told them I may come back for dinner during the week since I don't like to cook, so I'm looking forward to spending more time with them. And not that you asked me, Mayor, but you asked earlier, what are you thankful for? And I just want to publicly say I'm thankful for my daughter because she has always pushed me to be better and to be a positive role model. And then I'm also thankful to be in the town of Apex because it's been a really good experience this last month, and I'm really enjoying meeting and working with the employees. And those are my updates.
Great update.
Okay.
Any questions for Ms. Crocker?
I just had a follow-up about the yard waste, so I don't know if Mr. Stone is okay.
Assistant Town Manager Stone, can you come up and talk about the yard waste services?
Just wanted to follow up on what that would be and the impact to residents and how that'll be communicated to residents.
We've already got notes on the website basically about, maybe some impacts for COVID. We haven't, as of today, had any impacts as far as missed pickups and stuff, but we keep having some other COVID cases kind of show up. So I'm just wanting to let the people know that you may hear something about it. They're adjusting. Public Works is adjusting to make, moving people around and kind of using some shared resources to accommodate the best they can. And it's really where this probably, if we're going to have a problem, it's probably going to be with actually limb pickup and chippers because it takes a team to do that. And that's that's really where we are right now. So far, we don't have any problems, and we hope we can keep ahead of it, but there may be some as, and two, just think about it, as the fall comes into play, if we don't get COVID under control, there could be some impacts in the fall leaf pickup because that's a very, very busy season. But we have a few months before we get there, a couple months actually. So just looking ahead, nothing right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate the heads up.
Yeah, thank
Any
you.
other questions for me?
For me, I just would like to just, as much as is appropriate, just to keep updated on how folks are doing who are been impacted and who are out. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, before we go to the closed session, I do want to present this. Friday at 11:30, we'll be celebrating Tim Fedorovich. He's a medalist now. He grew up here and graduated from Apex High School, so we're going to celebrate him. There will be a parade from Apex High School that will end up at the depot, and so at that time he would be presented an award by myself and council. So we're just asking everybody to join us for that celebration.
And the sport, I don't think you said the sport.
I'm sorry, baseball. Yeah, thank you. All right, possible motion to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11 A6 to discuss a personnel matter.
Motion approved.
Second.
All right, discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, going to closed session, and we will gavel out there so we won't be returning to the chamber.